Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I'll be bringing you my March and April wrap-up. So in the month of March, I only ended up completing 2 books and getting a decent amount into a 3rd book, but I didn't really want to do a wrap-up with just 2 books, so I figured I would just lump it up with April. That is why you guys did not see a wrap-up in March. But let's just go ahead and get started. I ended up completing within March and April, I think it was like 6 books. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. Now in March, I participated in March Mystery Madness, and this year, one of the hosts was my good friend Di from Dices19, so I definitely had to participate in this readathon this year, and I completed 2 books for that readathon. The first one that I completed was Confessions, The Private School Murders by James Patterson and Maxine Pytro. This is the 2nd book in the Confessions series, which is a YA mystery series that revolves around these 4 siblings. The first book revolves around the death of their parents and them trying to solve the death of their parents, and then the 2nd book takes place right after that one. There are certain things that happen at the end of the first book that kind of open up this new mystery and this new thing that they have to solve, and this book follows those events. I really enjoyed this one a lot more than I did the first one. There was something off about the characters in the first book that they just felt a little robotic and a little bland, but then they kind of give you a lot of explanation at the end of the first book as to why they were acting this way and why these kids seemed like they were so strange. So I really enjoyed that they gave you that explanation. There was a reason why they were acting so weird, and it wasn't just something wrong with the writing. And then they kind of fixed those things within the 2nd book, and they start acting a lot normal, so I definitely connected a lot better with the characters. I felt like they were a lot more engaging and everything. This is definitely a very, very quick read. The only thing that I didn't really enjoy about this one was that I felt like they were trying to put too much into this one book. Like, there were 3 different storylines and like 3 different mysteries that were all going on at the same time. And I understand it's a way for them to kind of continue on with the series by giving us different mysteries, but I felt like they packed a little bit too much into this one. But either way, I still really enjoyed it and ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. And the 2nd book that I completed for March Mystery Madness, which was my kind of rollover into April, was Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. This is an adult mystery that revolves around these 3 women and this school and this murder that happened at this school, but there's a little twist on kind of this murder mystery as where you kind of have a person get killed at the beginning of a book and you're just trying to solve who the murderer was. This one, you don't know who got killed. So you're on top of trying to figure out who the murderer was, you're trying to figure out who got killed, because you find out about this murder at the very beginning of the book, and then it goes back 6 months and starts telling you about all of the events leading up to this death. So it was definitely very intriguing. I absolutely loved the writing. It was very witty, and there was dark humor in there, which I really enjoyed. I've heard this compared to kind of Desperate Housewives, and I can see definitely those similarities. So if you guys enjoyed the show Desperate Housewives, which I absolutely did, you will definitely enjoy this one. This is definitely a darker version of Desperate Housewives that deals with a lot darker themes and everything. And I just absolutely loved the way it was written. I loved these characters. They were just so messed up and so dark, even though at some point they felt a little pretentious to me, and they were just kind of like really materialistic at some points. Those things I didn't really enjoy, and that's kind of what kept me from giving it a full 5 out of 5 stars. But I loved the mystery, I loved kind of how everything played out, and I loved how it ended and kind of the twist that we got at the end, and I ended up giving this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then the last book that I completed in March was Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. I'm super excited that I finally read this one. I feel like this is a series that is really hyped here on BookTube, and I finally got to this first one and started this series and everything, and I've been enjoying it a fair amount. I didn't love it as much as some of the other books that I read this month, and for some reason it just didn't really meet a lot of the hype for me, but I do hear that it does get better. I mean, usually with a lot of first books in series, especially like, for example, Throne of Glass, the first one really isn't that great, but then it kind of gets better as it goes on, and I hear this one is kind of similar to that, where it gets better as it moves on. I really enjoyed the storyline and the plot that was going on with these like 3 rivaling kingdoms and everything, and I really enjoyed that. The characters I felt a little disconnected with. I don't know if I was doing it on purpose, because I do hear that a lot of these characters die throughout the series, so maybe it was me purposely not wanting to get attached to these characters, and that's probably why I felt that disconnect. So that might have been it, who knows, but either way, I enjoyed kind of the stuff that was going on with this one and ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Now moving on to the books that I completed in April. The first one that I completed was 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. This book, I feel, is one that a lot of people are talking about right now because of the Netflix show that came out, and it is about a girl who commits suicide and then records these 13 tapes that she sends off to our one main character to listen to and kind of solve, or not actually solve her mystery, but kind of listen to her story and why she ended up committing suicide. These 13 different people that had a part in her wanting to commit suicide and everything. I really enjoyed this book. I listened to this on audiobook, and I liked the way that they did the audio, where they had two different narrators, and one was narrating kind of the main character, and the female character was narrating kind of the tapes and everything that was on the tape. So I really enjoyed that aspect because it was so much easier to follow. And I also really enjoyed kind of the writing and the themes that it dealt with and everything, with bullying and with suicide and with depression and that kind of thing. I don't really have much experience hands-on with like depression or with suicide or anything, so I don't really know if these themes were done in kind of a respectful way. So if you guys know, please let me know. But from what I was able to see from an outsider's point of view, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed kind of how these things were dealt with and everything, and I ended up giving this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, the next book that I completed in the month of April was The Pianist by Vladislav Spielman. This is a non-fiction World War II story about this man surviving Nazi Germany attacking and all of this kind of thing, and his story of kind of going through all of the things that he went through. And I thought this was absolutely amazing, absolutely powerful. Just going through and reading this book, I just kept reminding myself that this was actually a true story. This is a non-fiction book, and this man actually went through all of these stuffs, and it was just absolutely incredible and so sad and so heartbreaking, but just so kind of inspiring to have him survive the way that he did. And I absolutely love this one. I actually read this one for school, and I'm so glad that they gave me this book to read for school because I absolutely loved it and gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I completed in the month of April was Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. This is a historical fiction book about this girl named Lena that lives in Lithuania, and she's taken from her home by the Soviets, and she's separated from her father and the rest of her family and everything. So it's kind of her story of another one trying to survive. I don't know why I was in the mood for all of these like sad survival historical fiction stories this month, but I really enjoyed this kind of new story of survival, or her kind of trying to figure out why she was taken from her home, what's going on, why they're being treated this way and everything. And I absolutely loved it. I really enjoyed the interview at the end of this book, because I also listened to this one on audiobook with Ruta Sepetys. It kind of gave more insight as to what inspired her to write this book, why it was that she decided to do or write the things that she did within this one. And I absolutely loved this one again. Absolutely loved, and gave it another 5 out of 5 stars. This was the first book that I read by Ruta Sepetys, and I'm definitely excited to read her next book, Salt to the Sea. So I will be doing that very soon, because I loved her writing, and I thought that the themes and things that she dealt with within this one were absolutely beautiful. So I'm excited to see what her next book brings. So yeah, guys, that is it for all of the books that I read in March and April. Comment down below and let me know what your favorite books were that you guys read within the month of April, and if you guys have read any of the ones that I did, what your thoughts and feelings on them were. Thank you guys all again for watching, and I will see you all next time.